Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us on the show today, and we will have a lot of those interviews during the course of the week.
That there will be. Many.
There will be, because we'll be talking a lot about Penn State football and where everything stands right now. 9-win team at the moment. I expect when the college football playoff rankings come up, I expect them to be in the 11 position. What's at stake for them on Friday is to win a 10th game. What is at stake for them on Friday is them putting themselves in a position for a New Year's Six game. I mean, this is what they're trying to do, a 10th win and a New Year's Six berth.
And current projections are what? Peach Bowl, I believe, against Tulane?
I haven't seen Tulane. I've seen Peach Bowl. I've seen Fiesta Bowl. I mean, the last Peach Bowl one I saw from Jerry Palm was Missouri.
Okay.
So let's just see how that ends up playing out. But the key is to win on Friday. Michigan State, to its credit, has won 2 of its last 3 games. Tough, hard-fought defensive game, beat Nebraska. Lost at Ohio State.
As many people have done.
Right, 38-3. They just couldn't generate any offense against Ohio State at all. And then this week, down at Indiana at halftime, to their credit, rallied. Then they won late. Only got into the red zone one time the entire game. Only one time did they get to the red zone. I will say this, especially indoors, Jonathan Kim, their place kicker, the transfer from North Carolina, is a great weapon for them. Because sometimes I'll say, if you get the ball to the 30 or the 35, you feel pretty good about getting points. With him, if they get the ball to the 40-yard line, indoors, they'll trot him out. He already has a 58-yard field goal this year at Iowa early in the season. Well, indoors, let's face it, they're going to let him try a 58-yard field goal. I mean, they're going to do that. Their quarterback, Caton Hauser, had his first career 200-yard passing game, 245. I like Carter, the running back.
Yeah.
The transfer from UConn. I like him. He's a good player.
By the way, quickly, just going back to the kicker for a second, for those who don't know, the longest field goal in the NFL was made in Ford Field by Justin Tucker. So if there's an environment to make a long one, it's going to be there.
Yes. I mean, look, the conditions will be perfect. That's why somebody asked me about, what are you going to be, he said, how do you pack for 5 days in like 2 different climates? I said, what 2 different climates? I said, I'm going to be wearing a golf shirt on Friday night because it's inside. It's going to be 72 degrees. But that's that aside. I mean, those are the stakes. Now, Penn State, because of the Friday game, you do have to change up what you do. And they did not practice at all yesterday. It was just treatment and meetings yesterday. Today, Monday for most of you, but for Penn State, this is the Tuesday practice.
They're one day ahead.
Right. Tomorrow being your Tuesday is the Wednesday practice. Right. Then when you get to, Wednesday, that's your Thursday walkthrough practice. And then Thanksgiving, while you're enjoying your meal, they'll do a morning Fast Friday practice, get on the plane, and they will fly there. All the players that are not traveling will be released to go home after the walkthrough or after the practice on Wednesday. The walkthrough on Wednesday, they'll be allowed to go home at that point. Go ahead, you're done. And they'll be allowed to go home. So only the 74 players traveling will be the ones still there on Thanksgiving Day. Everybody else will get to go. So that's how it's going to play out. And then they have Michigan State. And Michigan State, by the way, as I mentioned, they've won 2 of the last 3. And they play good defense, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They play good defense. Don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback unless they blitz it. But Halliday's a really good linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
The kid out of Southern Columbia. And Southern Columbia has turned out a lot of really terrific players, that program, and they won another district championship here. He's a really good player. Mangrum, now his older brother's the backup tailback, and he'll play.
Mm-hmm.
The younger brother has 4 interceptions this year.
Not bad.
He's been pretty good. He's been a good player for them. And I already mentioned Jonathan Kim, the place kicker, who has been terrific in all of this for them this season. He's a weapon in a game like this, and something you cannot discount. Now, Penn State.
Where do you want to start with them? There's a lot of places to start.
Saturday? But first of all, third time this season he did not give up a touchdown.
Their defense is. Chop Robinson may have had the best half of any player I've seen this season for Penn State.
Yeah,
that second half he torched them every way he could. He had the strip sack, fumble recovery. I mean, he looked dominant.
Yeah. And you could tell right away the matchup just looked great to him right out of the gate. And outstanding. Kobe King played really well.
Mm-hmm.
KJ Winston played really well. I know you all saw the interception on the sideline, but the rest of the game, he played at a really high level. And I think he's been playing at a high level now for a few weeks. I mean, he had 12 tackles in the Michigan game, for goodness sakes, playing the way he has. Dennis Sutton played well. Devon Ellis down the stretch has been a terrific player at defensive tackle. Abdul Carter really starting with I would say the Maryland game. So this is 3 straight games where, that's the Abdul Carter we've been looking at. Yeah, I mean, he's played really well. Offensively, the offensive line played well. No getting around it. And then Drew Aller exits the game. And what you have to do, and James tells his players this all the time. Now, saying it, trying to reinforce it, and having each player believe it, okay, this is what he tells them. You need to prepare every week as if you are the starter.
Yes.
That's everybody. Because you don't know when your number is going to be called. And that's, for example, let's take the Northwestern game. J.B. Nelson exits the game. Well, now Venga Ioane has to step in. Well, if Venga Ioane has gone out and prepared as if he's the starter, he can handle it. And to his credit, he went out there and he handled it. Okay. There's some guys that know during the course of the week they're going to start. And, for example, Dennis Sutton knew he was going to be starting when Chop was out. Right? But this is a case where Bo Perbula knew he was going to play in the game based on what they wanted to do. But being the guy on an every down basis is something he didn't know going in. But because he prepared as if he was the starter, he went on and performed at the level he did. Yes, he completed his 1 pass attempt. But remember, one of the keys to doing all of this, and this is, let's go back to what I would talk about with Jalen Pickett. Every time other broadcasters like national guys would come up, like Brian Anderson, Jim Jackson. I remember talking to them at the NCAA tournament. So I'll tell you what I told Brian and Jim. They said, what is it about him? I said, he has the ability in the first 5 minutes to read the room. In other words, okay, this guy's hot. This matchup's great. You know what? I may need to take it. I said, something. Like, I love this matchup over here. I can see already. Like Andrew Funk against Texas A&M, you can tell right away he had it. So, well, that's what you do in football. Okay? You look around, and it's the third quarter. Let's read the room here. And in reading the room, I've got a quarterback who runs the ball well. He can throw it. But he's also making my total running game better. Because when Bo goes to put the ball in to a running back, Katron or Nicholas, it doesn't matter which one, as a defense, you're still in peril about who actually is going to be the one carrying the ball. Because he can go and pull, and he takes it himself.
And he's fast.
Right? Or he puts it in there. And again, you're not sure when the play starts, and you're watching it develop. You're trying to read keys. That's what makes it difficult to read keys on a quarterback who can run like that, because he'll put the ball in, and at this point, okay, which one?
Who's got the ball at the end of the day?
It's Allen, it's Singleton, okay, and they take off. Or it's and pull, and I go. And then, of course, the effectiveness of how he runs the quarterback draw. And that was really a great job on their part of reading the room and saying, you know what, the running game's going. We've got them off balance with the running game. Defense is playing great. Okay? Let's, on our part, shorten the game. Now, that's the Rutgers MO. Let's shorten the game. Right? Well, Penn State looked around and said, you know what? We can keep the ball, too, and score. You want to win games by getting points off of takeaways. Penn State had 3. They scored 17 points out of takeaways. Penn State is now a plus 17 on the season, and Penn State has scored 107 points off of takeaways.
Not bad.
You know how many points the opponent scored off takeaways? 9. Penn State is a plus 98 points on giveaway takeaway. Plus 98 points. You need your punter when you are backed up. It's one thing we talk, hey, he does a great job. He dumps the ball inside the 10. Perfect. You need him at that point, no doubt. But when you need to change field position and you're backed up, and Penn State was backed up to the 3-yard line, so you're not back the usual 15. You're back 13, so you need really good protection. You need a solid, rock-solid snap from Tyler Jasansky, which he does. And then he goes out and he belts a 56-yard punt where Dremel had set up at the Penn State 40 and had to go all the way back and call a fair catch at the Rutgers 40. Right? That 20 yards made a difference on a day where your defense is playing at a high level. Chop played a great game, as I mentioned. He had the matchup that he absolutely needed. And I thought the offensive line, you look at the run blocking part of it, to be honest with the pass blocking part, I mean, Penn State didn't throw that often, but when they did, there was time. There was time. And you know what? The offensive line, I felt they played a good game at Maryland. I felt they played a good game against Michigan.
Yeah,
to be honest, I mean, Penn State ran for 164 against Michigan. They ran for 234 on Saturday. But you have to have the ability to read the room as to where you are in all of this. And when you're sitting there saying, okay, defense is playing great. My special teams, if I punt the ball, I'm in good shape. I've got a field goal kicker that's made a 48-yard kick already in the game.
Falcons is really, he's hitting them now. He's hitting them from distance, which is really nice and a positive thing to see.
And Kyle, he belted that thing.
Oh, yeah. It was good from 50 plus. It was good 55 maybe.
No question. And it's the whole operation. It's the blocking. It's Tyler snapping it. It's Riley putting it down, and then Alex kicking. There's a real comfort level with those three and the entire unit. So you read the room and say, you know what? I don't care if we're going to play boring football. Let's play winning football here. They only had the one turnover. That was the fumble. And other than that, now they did fumble it at the goal line, and Bo picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown.
Hey, got in the end zone. Doesn't matter how you get it there.
I said to him after the game on the post-game show, I said, did the ball just pop back up to you? He says, Steve, honest to goodness. He said, I have no idea what it did. All I know is it just ended up in my hands. I said, that sort of sounds like everything I do. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Hey, I don't think Bo's going to complain about this being how he scored a touchdown. No. I think he's going to complain.
No. And hey, you win the game. You needed to win the game. You needed to bounce back. Well, you bounced back. You bounced back and didn't give up a touchdown. You bounced back and, after starting out in a hole 3-0, you found a groove of what you were doing offensively with the running game, and you just kept pounding it and pounding it and pounding it. And your special teams has been playing at a terrific level. Now, again, for Daquan Hardy, okay, there are two elements that are really important in punt returns. Right? And I talked about this with Caden Saunders early in the year, why Jack Ham and I liked him very much back then. And we said, look, it's about catching the ball and judgment. And they went through the first 4 games of the season with him as the punt return. And it went a little further than that, obviously, right? And not one time did the ball ever hit the ground with him. He's like, well, he doesn't go anywhere. The ball never hit the ground. Right?
Yeah.
And he has good hands. And he didn't fumble it. Okay? So you need to be able to have the ability to catch it and judgment. Those are the top 2 things. What you get past catching it and judgment is a big bonus. Now, Hardy, he delivers the big bonus.
He's got some returns this season.
He's returned 3 for touchdowns. 1 was called back, so 2 are officially in the end zone. But the judgment part, he has to be better at.
Yes.
The ball hit the ground at Ohio State. And instead of getting the ball about the 45-yard line, their own 45, and having 55 yards to work with, they started from the 25 and had 75 yards to work with. The ball hit the ground against Michigan. Same thing happened. It flipped field position in the game. Right? It had no bearing on the game Saturday, but the ball hit the ground again. That's the one that ended up going back to the 3-yard line. And eventually Riley changed it with the punt, Riley Thompson. Right? So you need that. You have to have the ability to judge it and say, hey, I'm going to call a fair catch, and you know what? But I'm going to catch it. It's not going to hit the ground.
I want to talk about him a little bit more as well. He made one punt catch where he dove.
Yes.
It was, you could see him fair catch call for it, and he just is running. You're like, he's not going to get to this ball. Yeah. And he dives and makes like an incredible catch.
And got hit by Malik McClain.
Yeah.
That's the one where McClain hit him. I mean, Rutgers didn't hit him on that play. Malik did. Malik looked at me like, my bad. I'm looking down going, no kidding, really?
Yeah. And then later in the game, he gets tackled before the ball even gets to him.
Right.
And I was like, oh, boy.
Yeah,
what a
that
day.
was on Rutgers.
That was on Rutgers. Rutgers he just was like, I'm going to hit him. And the ball hadn't gotten within about 5 feet of his airspace. And it's like, that's not a great decision on your part. But
well, no. Yeah, on their part.
Yeah, Rutgers' part.
I mean, he showed good judgment on both of those. I mean, that's not, it's just that you don't want any hitting the ground. Now, sometimes if the guy just, like, he hits it off the side of his foot, what are you supposed to do? You can't do anything about it. But I'm not talking about those ones that, hey, you can run up underneath it. I'm talking about, and look, there'll be no condition issues unless somebody opens a door.
Yeah. Unless a ceiling is cracked open for some reason.
Friday, it's not going to be an issue. I mean, it's...
So the big question, which I know many people are asking about, and I think it would be remiss if we didn't bring it up, is who the quarterback situation heading into this game. Of course, we don't have an update. We don't know exactly what the deal is with Drew because he left with that shoulder injury. He ran into the guy, and then he played the next play, and then immediately threw it away, and he bolts off. And you're like,
he got tagged. Now, what it is, I don't know. And remember, what didn't they do yesterday? They didn't practice yesterday. There wasn't even a walkthrough yesterday. They just had meetings and treatment yesterday. So I wasn't around there at all. I couldn't answer it in a million years as to what it happens to be.
Yeah.
Their first time out is going to be tonight, and go from there. James has his press conference today. Whatever the update is will be from him. But even this happens to be one of those weeks where I have, as I sit here,
no
I have
idea.
as much idea as you do about what his status happens to be because I wasn't around them at all. At the only practice I went to yesterday, I went to the last half hour of the basketball practice yesterday. That was it. Because Penn State did not practice last night.
I am concerned, though. At least it looked concerning from where we were in the press box, seeing it, because you could see him on the sideline just trying to get his shoulder up above about, I don't know, the line that you can catch a punt at without it being called a fair catch, like that line. Couldn't get it up. And he was just like, you'd see him in pain. And how he came off the field as well, that he just knew. He knew immediately. He bolted off, went right to the tent, got looked at, and Bo came right in. As you said, he did well. But the question is, who plays, Aller or Pabula. We probably won't find out, I'm guessing, until Friday morning.
Yeah.
We'll find out game time. But it's an intriguing thing because if Drew can't go, I think Bo will do fine. I think there's going to be no issue there. But the question will then come into what happens on a bowl game. If you win this game against Michigan State and Drew, health-wise, we don't know.
Let's just see how he is now. Right?
I'm a worrier, Steve. I'm a worrier.
I'm not gonna sit there. Let's just see how everything is now, right? And then go from there. The media will get an idea of where things stand because they'll be a part of practice tomorrow. Tomorrow being, I know it's a Tuesday, but tomorrow's the Wednesday practice. That's when they get availability. And that's okay. That's when everybody will get a pretty good read on at least what they see. Okay, that's fine. And go from there. The high Friday in Detroit's 38 degrees on Friday. Yeah?
But it's going to be, a balmy 72 inside?
72 degrees here in downtown Detroit.
That'll be you'll enjoy your time. You'll enjoy your time in the heat and the warmth.
Saturday morning, snow at times. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Not much coming in, but that won't delay my flight at all.
I do want to discuss more quarterbacks, though, in college football with injuries. The big one, Jordan Travis.
I feel awful about that. And it's going to impact. It's going to impact what the committee says about Florida State. I expect Washington to jump them this week, and that will be the factor.
Yeah, and everyone's saying, will they be okay without him? No. I think that's the safe answer. They are not the same level of team without him. I mean, he's played really well this season, and now they lose him, and they also have the game against Louisville. They'll have in the championship game for the ACC. Yeah. It's going to be tough.
And I know nothing about their backup quarterback, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, hey, no, really, I've got a good handle on this, Kyle. I know nothing about him. I mean, I've seen Florida State play a couple times this year, the Clemson game, the LSU game. And Travis really impressed me. I'm like, this guy is playing at a high level. Because I know a couple of years ago he was not.
Yeah.
Now you can just see the game had slowed down for him. He had such a good feel for what was going on. To lose him in a game against an FCS team, with all due respect, I mean, you're the prohibitive favorite. You're playing North Alabama. I mean, that's the worst case scenario you could have had. And Washington's playing at Oregon State, wins the game 22-20, but you just worry about Jordan Travis long term because he had what I refer to as the look. You watch the game, you say, that's a really terrific quarterback.
Yeah.
You can just see it. It just looks good. It looks good coming out of his hand. It looks good when he drops back. He's got a feel. You can just tell. And so I felt awful when I heard about that.
And they kept showing the replay of it, and I just kept saying stop. At some point,
I didn't see the play.
He was running and got rolled over by the tackler, and his leg turned it away. It should not turn.
Yeah.
They just kept showing it, and you could see the injury, and you're just saying, please stop showing us this. Yeah. I get on broadcasts. I mean, I've been a part of them, and I've seen it. Yeah. They had to show something. But you just kept saying, please stop. Like, please, we don't want to see what has happened here. You could see his leg not in the correct position. Ugh. And it was just, they kept showing us the replay. And I was like, please, stop. And then Jameis Winston comes on. His jersey was getting retired. And he spent the entire 2 minutes just talking about Jordan Travis.
Sure.
And I was like, that's great. But hoping he gets...
That's awful.
Hoping he gets better.
It. I mean, I didn't see it, but I felt awful about it because you don't want to see a player, any player get hurt. And he's a quality player. He's really good.
He's really good. But it's a weird time with injuries and quarterbacks, but other quarterbacks are getting benched in the NFL at least. Mr. Zach Wilson got benched. That happened.
What are they supposed to do? I mean, this is a case of Robert. First of all, I feel Robert Saleh is an excellent coach. I really just, based on just watching TV games, like, hey, he has his teams running. This team is built around what Aaron Rodgers is supposed to do. And that's why they have the receivers that they do. It is not built around Zach Wilson.
Nope.
This is the case of, in my opinion, a wasted defense. That's an excellent defense.
It's like the championship level defense for them.
And
that's what it is.
It's being wasted because their offense can't make it pay off. And that's, so.
If they could put up 2 to 3 scores every game, 2 to 3 touchdowns, I think they'd win pretty much every game at that point. But their offense is just doing nothing. They could promote, Tim Boyle could be their starter next week, or it could be Trevor Siemian coming off of the practice squad.
Sure.
Who knows who it's going to end up being.
Sure.
But the quarterback situation in New York in general is just really interesting, isn't it? Tommy DeVito and Tim Boyle.
Last 50 games. You know how many times that Daniel Jones threw 3 touchdown passes in the game in his last 50 games?
Once, maybe?
0.
Sounds about right.
Tommy DeVito did it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That's my guy. He went to Syracuse, even though he was terrible.
Outstanding Illinois player. No, I'm kidding you. I'm kidding.
Hey, Tommy DeVito was a part of the reason that Dino Babers got fired this weekend.
Right.
It's just what it is. Tommy was not good at Syracuse. He had good players. He had a great defense, and
he speaks highly of you.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. I never had a class with him. I did have class with some NFL players, but never him.
Right.
I had it with Andre Sisco and Garrett Williams. But,
there you go.
Yeah, good players.
So there we go. Basketball on Thursday at noon. Dick Girardi and I will be on Bigfoot Country Legends at 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
Then we will have the game on Friday against either Florida Atlantic or Butler, but Joe Putnam will do that game. That's why I arranged for Joe to be the engineer.
Mm-hmm. Smart man. You didn't want me? You didn't want me doing the game, Steve? Why not?
It's okay. You do a good job, though. You would. Mm-hmm. So that's why I arranged for him to be the engineer. That way he could do it. Mm-hmm. That will give me the chance to then travel to Detroit, then do the game Friday night with Jack Ham and Brian Tripp and Roger Corey. Mm-hmm. We're on at 6 o'clock, 103.7 FM, and also on the bus. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday, no games. Mm-hmm. It's a travel day for me back to Orlando, and then I have no idea who the opponent or the time will be for the game. It all depends on the results of Thursday, Friday. So that's how it's going to work.
Yeah. I have a quick question before I wrap up.
Sure.
I did not know Florida Atlantic was 10th ranked in men's basketball. What?
Kyle, they went to the Final Four last year.
Well,
they were a basket away from getting the championship game. I can tell you in my prep, because I didn't know what was going to happen with everything. I'm not going to do the game. Right? All the starters are back. They have no change. There is no change. All their starters are back, and their 6 man's back. Mm-hmm.
So it's a full squad.
10th. It's the same squad that went all the way to the national semifinals last year and missed by a basket of getting to the championship game. So that's why they're ranked 10th, because
they're good.
They literally have everybody back.
Mm-hmm.
So on this particular day, a little shorter version, if you're asking why, it's because of the way the schedule is this week.
It's because Steve doesn't like us. It's okay.
And it's because I do have to do the pregame show with James Franklin. That's the only time the two of us could work out. We could get it done this week. Talk show, by the way, is tomorrow night from the field from 6:05 to 7. So Brian Tripp will be hosting because I'm on a plane.
Yeah, you'll be in the mile. You'll be sitting up there in a plane, relaxing, feet up, polo shirt on, having a great time.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. It's so to each of you. I know we'll have a lot of interviews on tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll have a lot of interviews, but for me personally, to all of you, and especially to my great friend Kyle here, happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for all of you. Thankful for working with a guy like Kyle and for Jason. A lot to be thankful for around here, and we appreciate it, and all of you here on Seven Mountains Media.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a Seven Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.